I mean, there's not even a USB connection, so the students are going to have to hand write all the coordinates that they put into this. So right now I'm going to give very valuable advice to anybody who wants to be a professor at some point and are taking either undergraduate or graduate classes right now. And that is, when you take a class, I know especially in the United States, it's extremely hard to justify all that tuition money. But one way you can make it more worth it is if your professor is giving lectures and gives you access to PowerPoints and gives you papers, save all of that. Save every last bit of it. Save the PowerPoints, save the homework assignments. The more time you spend in and the more correct, the better. But scan all the loose papers they give you and save all the PowerPoints, because if you move on to teach the same class like I did, that was the best move I have ever done in my life. I saved all the PowerPoints from my GIS and remote sensing classes, and because of that, now probably about, I don't know, a good 85 to 90% of my presentations were all set. Now, I'm not saying use the exact same one, but you have a solid idea of what to teach and the time frame it takes to teach things, and you can just tweak it as is. It's much easier to just revise something than start it from scratch. If you're taking courses at a university and you know you want to go into education of some sort, save everything, even your notes. Sometimes they can be handy. They're not as good as anything the professor hands out. Still, save them, and it's a hassle to save notebooks, but try and scan them if you can. Find one of those mass feeder scanners. That is some solid advice for you. Save time in the future by just hoarding every little bit of information you can from the classes you have now. Do keep in mind, though, that technology advances, research advances, science advances, so you will have to account for that to some extent. I just can't promote enough saving everything. The other thing I'll say is, if you save your notes, it's really interesting 5, 10, 15, 20 years later to see like side comments you wrote in the margins, like if you were fooling around with class or just frustrated with something, or maybe you wrote your thoughts on a professor. It's really funny to read that stuff 20 years later. I've seen a lot of notes from like an oceanography class I took, and I think a geochemistry class I took, and there were just all these random notes in the margin that kind of reflected where I was in that period of life. So that's what light looks like after 3 hours of class. I had to talk with one of the other research technicians and ask him for some GPS units. This is where it's at. I gotta get these students doing a GPS lab outside rather than keeping them cooped up in a summer class. Besides that, I just want to get outside too. That's why it's always so noisy over here. These planes must be on a direct path to the runway in the next town over. I always seem to stand right underneath this landing path. I haven't left work yet because the park route right outside is a great place to try and develop the activity I'm working on, where the students are going to use GPS. The problem is the school's GPS are probably 10 plus years old. And so there's limits to what I can do with these. I mean, there's not even a USB connection, so the students are going to have to hand write all the coordinates that they put into this. If you're going to have a course running, make sure your technology matches what you're offering. I'll give them this though, at least they had GPS units. I think the students might have better GPS capabilities on their phones, so maybe I'll go home and I'll track down and see if there's some kind of app that can be freely downloaded, and that way we can use their coordinates without having to hand write them. Well, this is fun. I got to my French class late because I was doing all that GPS stuff, and now I think I have 15 minutes to try and get back and post this video. I don't know if it's going to happen unless I post it raw. It doesn't help that I just missed the first subway out because I was on the wrong side. Yeah, I wasn't going to make that one unless I dived. And the clock ticks down further. Bus comes in 12 minutes. I'm gonna have to do some kind of quick edit work or just throw up another part of the Random Life Adventures. Oh, the struggles of a life vlogger.